Well, last month, the FDA granted that approval. So, the time for waiting is over. Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated.
Laura, I've said for months that Tony Fauci should be fired. Now it's clear that he lied to Congress, so he should be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Is he intentionally deceptive, or is there something else to this?
He's either grossly incompetent or he's been lying to the American people the entire time.
For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated. Let me be blunt. My plan also takes on elected officials in states that are undermining you in these life-saving actions. I recently released the key parts of my pandemic preparedness plan so that America isn't caught flat. A new pandemic comes again, as it will. A new pandemic comes again, as it will.
Hey everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. What is a lamentation? When is it time to take up a lamentation? And is it time to take up a lamentation right now? Probably not something you expected to be asked today, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Lyin Biden. We're going to talk about nearly fired Fauci in this episode. So let's get started.
I hear the sweet sound of freedom, and I won't be long.
Okay, as usual, whatever platform you are viewing this video on, please like, please share, please subscribe, particularly Facebook. I'm going to ask you, please go to ohioforfreedom.com. Sign up to be part of our email blast. We don't use that very often, but we're going to rely on it a lot just in a couple of weeks from now, because after the 30th of September, Ohio for Freedom is leaving Facebook, and we want to be able to connect with you. So let's talk about the subject here a little bit. Why am I talking about a lamentation? Well, folks, we're going to talk about Lyin Biden. We're going to talk about nearly fired Fauci. But I am convinced that if you were a reporter in the days of Esther, the book of Esther, you would have reported on the gallows that were being built. Now, you would not have known what was going to happen with those gallows. You probably thought something was going to happen. You thought their original purpose was going to be what happened with it. Haman had an original purpose, and that completely turned around. But I am completely and totally, I'm being 1,000% sincere, 1,000% honest. I believe the gallows have been fully constructed, and it's time to take up a lamentation. And I'm going to close with that. But since we're talking about Lyin Biden, and folks, this is really sad that we're going to begin with this, but I just want to remind this audience of the kind of person that is our imposter in chief.
With regard to abortion, I accept my church's position on abortion as what we call de fide doctrine. Life begins at conception. That's the church's judgment. I accept it in my personal life. I respect people who don't support Roe v. Wade. I respect their views. I respect those who believe life begins at the moment of conception and all. I respect that. Don't agree, but I respect that.
Are you really surprised that way back in the day when he debated Paul Ryan, that he claimed to be Catholic, or at least he claimed to adhere to Catholic beliefs? And are you really surprised to hear him say just a couple of weeks ago that, no, I don't believe that? Folks, I'm playing that clip simply to point out this guy, if he has a soul, he's not paying attention to it. And this makes me very, very sad. And we're going to close on this on the end. But the reason I wanted to play that is because I'm going to spend some time talking about this big announcement yesterday where the pretender-in-chief, the imposter-in-chief, the illegitimate-in-chief is attempting to mandate to all companies over 100 employees that they're going to have to get the hallelujah to the V or be tested every week. And once again, faux Biden is a liar. He is a liar, and I'm going to show you the clip that proves it right now.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. I'll do everything in my power as the President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters.
So he lies about conception, he lies about life, and he lies about vaccines. Well, actually, folks, he lies about anything that he needs to lie about. I believe that Faux Biden is absolutely reached the point of a sociopath. He's a sociopath. And what's even sadder than that is he's demented. And I don't mean, he's demented. He's demented. He's not in control of his faculties. So you have a sociopath that's not in control. Other people are pulling the strings, and that's what we're going to talk about with this lamentation. But in terms of what he announced yesterday, yes, it is a complete reversal of what he had said earlier, and yes, it probably is a distraction from the absolutely horrific debacle. And here it is, the day before September 11th, on the 20-year anniversary. This ship is going down in flames. Everything is going down in flames, and that's why this lamentation that I'm going to talk about is so important. But I want to play about 10 seconds of a clip that illustrates that Faux Biden doesn't even know what his job is.
My job as president is to protect all Americans.
Well, first of all, if his job, his illegitimate job, is to protect everybody, what happened to all the Americans in Afghanistan, Fojo? What happened to those people? But if your job is to protect everybody, why don't we have a border, Fojo? But the fact of the matter is, Fojo, the fact of the matter is that your number one job, if you legitimately had that job, which you don't, but your number one job is not to protect everybody. Rather, it's to protect the freedoms of the American people. It's to protect the freedoms of the American people, which Fojo has no appreciation for, and I'm going to show you a clip that proves that right now.
4 million more people got their first shot in August than they did in July. But we need to do more. This is not about freedom or personal choice. This is not about freedom or personal choice.
So you see, ladies and gentlemen, your freedoms, individual liberty, they mean nothing to the pretender-in-chief. They mean nothing to the imposter-in-chief. They mean nothing to the illegitimate in chief. But the good news is we are not caught off guard, and we are not caught unawares. I'm going to play a clip of, I'm reading from an Epoch Times article in just a moment, because 19 governors and 2 attorneys general, before the day was over, had issued statements that they will be challenging the imposter-in-chief, and we will win. We will win, and I'm going to show you that. But I want to ask you a question first, and I'd like you to ponder this. Which is more powerful, the Creator or what the Creator created? What has more authority, the Creator or what the Creator created? And folks, I'm always amazed that people, if they don't understand this. So maybe I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of flip-flop in your thinking, but please understand this. The federal government did not create the states. The states created the federal government. The states have more power, have more authority than the federal government. The states have delegated some authority to the federal government so that it can engage in things that protect the collective of the states, but it's not that the states answer to the federal government. Now, in that whole press conference, one of the things that Biden said was that he'd be using OSHA. And he also mentioned the Department of Labor, and he also mentioned the Department of Education. And this might sound radical, and this might sound controversial, but frankly, even things like the Department of Education, in so much as them having authority over what states do, that's completely unconstitutional. And I'm going to play a clip also in just a moment where Faux Biden is saying that he will come after governors and other elected officials from states that get in his way. Well, he's got another thing coming because his authority is not greater than the states. Why? Because the states created the federal government, and the federal government has to answer to the states. And I know most people haven't really thought that through, or if they have, they've forgotten it. But I got good news for we the people, and I got good news for the patriots. More and more people are becoming aware of how this whole deal is really set up. And even what Faux Biden is attempting to do, he knows he doesn't have the authority to do it. The same way they knew the CDC didn't have the authority to do this eviction moratorium, but they're willing to push it. But one thing they haven't counted on is that we the people are pushing back. This is a very exciting and encouraging story from the Epoch Times that hit about 11 o'clock on Friday the 10th. And so here we go. 19 governors, 2 AGs resist Biden's vaccine mandates. Now, it says more than a dozen governors and 2 attorney generals late Thursday issued statements defying the Biden administration's impending vaccine mandates. So this didn't happen even on Friday. It happened on Thursday. So the regime's unconstitutional edicts did not take these people by surprise. And we're just going to go ahead and take the time to read 19 statements from these governors. But it should also be noted, if I can find it here quickly, in a related story, the RNC announces plans to sue Biden over vaccine mandates. So let's get to the statements. Alabama. Now we're going to pause real quick for a quick commercial break. Please pay close attention, and then we'll follow up.
Hey, a great big hello to you, Everett, and to all subscribers and listeners of the Ohio for Freedom Network. Listen, I've got just a minute to share with you that we have got the greatest event coming up for you this summer, the Ohio for Freedom Rural Awakening, right here at Real Life Church of Ohio, 1044 Marquette Drive Northeast in Lancaster, 43130, so you can plug that into your MapQuest. And talking about plugging in, I need you to plug in. Go on Eventbrite right now and look for us. Real Life Church of Ohio, Ohio for Freedom, Rural Awakening. There's free camping. I've got 200 campsites available, plus opportunity for motorhomes and trailers. We are going to have dinner on the grounds. Really, dinner on the grounds. We've got a pig roast. We got chicken roast. We're going to feed you dinner on Saturday, breakfast on Sunday, lunch on Sunday. Check us out. We've changed our times a little bit. We've had to expand the tent stakes. We're going to be kicking this off early, Saturday, September 18th. And then I'm going to get out the way and let Brother Everett get up on the platform. He's got a great message for you to help you stand up, to help you be encouraged. And also some special surprises he's got in store for you. I'm going to let Everett tell you about it. I got to get off of here and keep busy. We're polishing it all up, brothers and sisters. We're ready for the Ohio for Freedom Rural Awakening. God bless you. Jesus is going to be here. I promise. Bye-bye.
So if it is within your power, I want you to come to this event. Look, who needs to come to this event? Anybody that wants to be encouraged. Anybody that wants to gain some new knowledge. Anybody that wants to be empowered. You need to come. You just need to find a way to get there. If you have a stronghold in your life that needs broken, you need to be there. If you are encouraged but you need some direction, you really need a divine touch, like move in this direction, you need to be there. And you're going to meet some wonderful, wonderful people. And it's time that we, the people right here in Ohio, start really taking some dominion over our home turf so that never again do we surrender our existence to tyrants. So we want you to be there and bring an appetite. So there you have it. Fojo has absolutely no respect for your freedoms, absolutely no respect for your liberties, and he wants to engage in overarching abuse of authority from the executive level. Folks, the days are very, very, very numbered. We're going to get to that at the very end. But I am going to say, it's make or break time, folks. It's decide where you stand. Do you stand with freedom, or do you stand with being pushed around and whipped around? Have you seen what's going on in Australia? My goodness, they're going through people's mail and confiscating alcohol. I'm not a proponent of people drinking a lot of alcohol, but I'm sure not an opponent of people rationing anything, and that's going on, and all kind of tyrannies going on to protect the new world order. Folks, that's not going to happen here in America. That is not going to happen here in America, but the time to stand up and the time to be counted is now. I'm just going to divulge. A week ago, today, it's been 7 days, I was fired from a contract position that I was filling. Why? Because I happened to mention that I was not willing to participate in a vaccine mandate. And was it unexpected? Yes. Does it concern me? Yes. Does it cause you to have to scramble around and figure out what you're going to do? Yes. But my conscience is clear, and I just have to. I don't know. I'm just not going to acquiesce, and I don't think you're listening to this program because you're going to acquiesce either. But the time to be counted is now, because, folks, we are going to hang on to this republic. We're going to hang on to this freedom, and all of these tyrants are going to go down. Now, very, very quickly, I'm going to play a couple of video clips kind of back to back, but I just want to show you what is a growing sentiment. That Intercept article that came out this week from the FOIA request that revealed all these documents. It's all stuff that we already knew. Fauci, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think. Fauci, the liar. Fauci, the fraud. That's the word. Fauci lied to Senator Paul, and he lied to Congress and said that he'd never funded gain-of-function research, and we knew it was a lie when he said it. He knew it was a lie when he said it, but now the rest of the American people, if they care to look, know that it was a lie. And so let me calm down a little bit and let me just play you two people's reaction, because some of us are not going to have it. Fauci is a liar. Fauci lied to Congress, and he must, and he is, going to be held accountable.
But we had to say it. Joining me now is Senator Tom Cotton, who was the first politician to raise the lab leak theory over 18 months ago. Senator, your take on these new documents?
Well, Laura, I've said for months that Tony Fauci should be fired. Now it's clear that he lied to Congress, so he should be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You know, for 18 months, he's been saddling up his moral high horse and clucking his tongue at college kids who want to go celebrate a football game in an outdoor stadium on a nice fall day, or parents who don't want their kindergartners to have to wear masks their entire lives, telling you have to wear 3 masks, when all along he's been lying, not just to Congress, but to the American people about his role in funding the very reckless, dangerous research at a Chinese communist lab that unleashed this pandemic on the world. It is a disgrace, and it's time for Tony Fauci to be held accountable.
He was wrong when it talked about the origin. He said that there was no credence to that theory when this thing called logic played a role. Is he intentionally deceptive, or is there something else to this?
He's either grossly incompetent or he's been lying to the American people the entire time. And look, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a scientist, but just look at the evidence. If you were to believe Dr. Fauci and the fact that this originated in nature or wet market, you'd have to believe that a bat 1,000 miles away from Wuhan traveled to Wuhan, again, 1,000 miles, infected no species, no human along the way, then started infecting people around Wuhan, where there was the BSL-4 lab studying, again, the coronavirus and bat-borne diseases. And that once that virus leaked, it became 20 times more contagious than it was in a state of nature. To me, that just defies logic. Also, we know back in November, people in the Wuhan Institute of Virology were getting COVID-like symptoms. To me, the evidence is staggering. Dr. Fauci should be fired or resign.
So there you have it. Now, I have a clip that I could play of Senator Rand Paul saying he doubts that this Department of Justice is going to do anything with the criminal referral that he made, but he made it, and Senator Rand Paul is certainly entitled to that, and in a sense, he might be right. But here is where I'm going to talk about this lamentation, and I'm only going to introduce the subject because I could talk on it for a long time. But I will say this. It is beyond the grasp of our mental abilities and our natural experience to describe what I believe is about to happen very, very imminently. But Tony Fauci is going to be completely held accountable. Faux Biden is going to be held completely accountable. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that the time for lamentation is here. When King David was anointed to be king, there was another king on the throne. Now, David, the moment that he got the anointing, he was just a boy. It wasn't intentional that he would instantly be king. But Saul had apostatized. Saul had just broken the covenant with God, and God rejected Saul from continuing to be king. And if you look in 1 Samuel 16, depending on what translation you look at, but in the new NIV, God says to Samuel, "You've mourned long enough. You have mourned long enough." And there is something to be said that when you have leadership that has completely disgraced, not only itself from a personal aspect, but disgraced a nation, there is mourning and there is lamentation that needs to happen. But the believers, please be careful with this, because that took a long time to play out. It took a long time to play out. And when there was battle between the people that were supporting David and the people that were supporting Saul, Saul had fallen on a spear. And he was in the process of being removed, being gotten off the scene. And there was a young Amalekite that happened to be near him, and Saul cried out to him and asked him, "Please fall on me with a sword, because my life is passing and I just want to die." And that young Amalekite reported that to David. And when David heard that, instead of just completely, rejoicing and saying, yeah, beating on his chest, yeah, we beat him, he was sad, and he had to process that. And then he called that young Amalekite back and had him kind of recount the story. And he said, "How is it that you were not afraid to put your hand against the Lord's anointed?" And then I have always read this and thought this sounded so brutal, but David commanded another young man of his, and he put to death that young Amalekite that had killed King Saul. Now, maybe you weren't expecting to hear this, but if you're with me, I'm going to continue. David then took up a lamentation. He took up a lamentation, and he said, "How the mighty are fallen." There is an attitude, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we need to have when judgment is being executed. Be not high-minded, but fear. But David took up a lamentation. He said, "How are the mighty fallen?" And he tried to describe in that lamentation all of the positive things that he could say about Saul and all the positive things that he could say about Jonathan. Why? because that was God's business. That wasn't David's business. Folks, there are some things about to happen. Now, and it could be days, could be weeks, could be, God's timetable is God's timetable. But imminently, I believe, there are things about to happen that's God's business. And so, I've had to do an adjustment here because I want to be angry about certain things. And I want to be I want to grit my teeth, and I'm frustrated about some things. But you know what? I have to stand back, and I have to let God be God. And I encourage you to do the same thing. And what I'm trying to say is, it's time to take up a lamentation about faux Biden. Now, I make jokes about faux Biden. What is it, Mordecai in the book of Esther? He never gave didn't show Haman respect, and it really bothered. And I guess, I feel the same way about faux Biden. But I do lament that the highest office in the land has been sullied, has been denigrated. I lament the evil that has so permeated our government and so permeated everything from the lie that's nearly more than 10 months old now to this thing that spread all over the world and all the lies. And I lament that we have allowed our nation and we the people to be in this place. And I pray God's forgiveness on our nation, and I pray God's forgiveness on us as a people. But I lament faux Biden. I lament because the days of pretending, they're over. It's time for the funeral song. Some of you may follow me, some of you may not. Some of me, after hearing me talk, this guy's crazy. And that's okay. But I think it's a time to really walk, because it almost seems to be in conflict. It's a time to have great boldness and great confidence and be willing to pay any price for freedom and for liberty. And so that kind of speaks to strength, and it speaks to backbone, and it speaks to determination. But at the same time, it's a time to walk softly and to walk circumspectly. Because, folks, once again, and I'll close with this, it's time to take up a lamentation. A lamentation, for the end of an era is passing. We're going from one era to another. And I hope you'll join us on the 18th of September. We'll explain more about that. But there is an empowering that's coming upon godly people, patriotic people, we the people. And we're privileged, and I'm privileged to hook up with Pastor Dan Chapman in Real Life Church and play a part in that. But folks, make no mistake, we the people win. God always wins. God's got this, and we're staying with God, and we win too. And so until next time, God bless you, God bless your family, God bless the state of Ohio, and God bless the United States.
I hear the sweet